Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and today I want to talk about some things regarding Zaluzhny. And there is some quotes about the statements put out by Zaluzhny, whom you do not, if you do not know, is the commander-in-chief of the Ukrainian armed forces. So he's the number one guy, below the president, and or the defense minister, and basically he is the overall commander for the entire military effort of the Ukrainian armed forces. And he have this press conference where he's really candid and basically shared a lot of information, and some of this information is, in my opinion, very realistic. It's totally very un-Ukrainian, if you ask me, based on the kind of like a perception of what Ukraine, the image that they put out to the world, the sort of the level of propaganda, hybrid warfare, information warfare. Zaluzhny actually don't have, it doesn't feel Ukrainian in that sense because he's very forthcoming. And so I'm going to go through some of these things, and I want to highlight some of this seeming clash between Zelensky and Zaluzhny. Zelensky is the president of Ukraine, and there seems to be this divide that is coming and blowing up into the public. It's something that I've alluded to during the Battle of Bakhmut, but I got to go through everything, and there is other information about Marinka, about the mobilization, about 2024, about the clash between the two, and even a poll by the people that was conducted on the people of Ukraine, talking about their preference and the possibility of what this of what the possibility of this divide means moving forward. So let's go through and stay with me, and so that you know what I'm talking about next time when I'm on the SITREP or in the DPA open mic. If not, then we are not going to be on the same page. So so this is Deep State UA's this is Deep State UA. In case you do not know, this is Deep State UA. So Deep State UA is a pro-Ukrainian OSINT, which is also supported by the Ukrainian government, probably by funding. So he was at this press conference and basically made a statement regarding Marinka. So it's basically, all in all, what he's saying is that they have basically, Marinka is basically flattened. The settlement is no longer exists, which I have already reported as such, through video footages and whatnot. And then they say that they have been fighting, and they have been their soldiers has been dying also as well. And now the fact is that they have already retreated to the outskirts of Marinka. This is actually something that I have reported in the SITREP. If you have not watched it on the DPA War channel, because this is the DPA main channel, go to the DPA War channel to watch the SITREPs, because it is it is the only way that we can be all on the same page. So basically, and they have set out positions outside the city. So this outside of the city basically acknowledged that the Ukraine have lost Marinka. So there's nothing in this that can cause public outcry, he says. Put it this way, the war unfortunately is like that. So basically he is just saying that this is war. This is just how war is. There's nothing particularly special regarding losing towns. This is just war. And this is something that I've always said as well. War is war. People die. This is just normal things. So he also added, he said that the Ukrainian armed forces defend every piece of land. This is something that I have always said that is an observation of what I see based on my daily reporting, is that Ukrainian armed forces deploy this rather, in my opinion, foolish way of fighting war, which is actually defend every piece, every meter, every inch of the land. Something that the Nazi Germans have done when the Soviet Union was on the counteroffensive, which actually cost the Nazi German army a lot of soldiers because they are defending places that is undefendable. And the Ukrainian armed forces is doing exactly the same thing. And this is exactly what is being said. They defend every piece of the land, but he said that in this narrow piece of land, which is Marinka, enemy shells begin to dig up the places along with stones, earth, and their fighters. So now the life of their soldiers is more important to them. And this is actually very, very important to note, because this is Zaluzhny talking. It is not Zelensky. So this shows that the commander of the Ukrainian armed forces care about his soldiers. And rightfully so, because this should be the way. this should be the way how a military commander should behave, because a military commander who do not cherish his soldiers will lose all their wars. So this is important to note. And another information very interesting coming from Zaluzhny is that so this is the commentary by Deep State UA. He said that people are very fond of sucking up to Zaluzhny, you know. So anyway, the Zaluzhny say that in his opinion, there's a lot written in the Western media, and sometimes they even show him those articles. So with all due respect to the expert communities and the expert, he don't even want to read some of these things. He says, Zaluzhny say, these experts that in the Western media don't understand what is going on here at all. Let's say there is a very small percentage of experts with whom you can agree, which means that Zaluzhny is basically telling you guys, that most of these experts in the mainstream media, particularly in the West, is talking rubbish. And this is something that the DPA community should understand very well, because if not, you guys will not be following me. And whatever DPA is reporting is basically, we are the smallest percentage. We are definitely in the smallest percentage of people that is actually very realistic and pragmatic. If you look at the overall market, overall market in YouTube, of the number of viewers watching Ukraine war content, you will see that a huge majority is actually following very hopeful, let's put it that way, very hopeful YouTube channels, and a much smaller percentage, just like you guys, is actually following DPA and other experts, which I am not an expert, but following other YouTubers or channels that actually is more realistic and totally not propagandic in terms of our reporting. And this is very important. I find this very interesting, because you're not going to see this thing being said by Zelensky. Like, for sure, it's not in the nature of Zelensky to say something like this. But Zaluzhny basically says that they don't even want to read a majority of this Western media, because they don't understand what is going on. So I find this very, very interesting. So something to note, whether DPA is in this small percentage of people, which he can agree with, I certainly believe that DPA would be part of it, but clearly I don't think he follows DPA, because I don't think he would be listening to English, because he will probably just he knows all this information. Why bother listening to me? It's the same thing why I don't watch other YouTube channels on Ukraine, because I already know everything there is to know in the open source. So there is a bit waste of my time if I go and repeat myself to watch other people's opinion. So similarly, as the commander of the Ukrainian armed forces, he have all the intel and all the real information, way more than what DPA have. So there's no reason he will be watching me. But it's very interesting, this statement. I'm totally not expecting this to come out at all. So anyway, so we're going to dig more into the Marinka. So we see that this press conference have huge implication within the information sphere, because it went viral. A lot of people, most importantly pro-Ukrainian people, the pro-Ukrainian crowd, is actually sharing his opinion. And this is very, very unusual, because the pro-Ukrainian information circle or information bubble is very misled by informations coming from all the different mainstream medias, and also from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, because the Ukrainian Defense Ministry's the YouTube Twitter account and whatnot doesn't feel exactly being managed by the Ukrainian military themselves. So it feels like it's managed by the propaganda units within the Ukrainian government, because of some of the things that they post is like utterly childish. But anyway, so you can see that this is being quoted. Ukrainian troops withdrew and dug in on the outskirts of the city. They prepared defense line outside of the settlements, basically confirmed that the Marinka has been captured. So this is also talk about the protecting the life of their soldiers. This is actually a very heartful. So and we can see that this is also being replicated in media like Rubrika, and basically saying that the same thing, Marinka has been lost, Ukrainian forces have pulled back, and he also said that about Avdiivka. So this is now we're going to move into talking about Avdiivka. He said that there's no need to dwell on it and make a show of it. So he said that the way how they are fighting the war is not subjected to what politicians and journalists want. So now we're going to move into the Marinka issue, because Marinka is starting to look a lot more like Bakhmut in the somewhat like middle stage of the battles of Bakhmut, because Avdiivka is currently getting devoured into some kind of pincer movement. Is surrounded by on many sides, and is very similar to Bakhmut city, where the Wagner forces attacking from the south, and then attacking through Soledar, they close up the north and south roads. And so he said, so Zaluzhny said that the Russian forces have the opportunity to concentrate their forces and will do so in 2 or 3 months, what they did in Bakhmut, basically capturing Avdiivka in 2 to 3 months. This is very similar to my expectations. I say that maybe this is going to be another 3 to 6 months of fighting at Avdiivka, depending on how hard Ukrainians going to defend Avdiivka. So he say something very rational. He said that they will defend exactly as much as they have enough strength. But you see, he's preparing you for the inevitability of losing Avdiivka. He said that, but if we understand that it is better to save people, we will win it back. Yeah. So if this sentence is translated weirdly, I believe what he says is that they will save people if they cannot defend. If they have enough people, they will fight. They will fight back at Avdiivka, something like this. So this is actually a very interesting thing. This is actually very un-Ukrainian, like I said. This is not the typical Ukrainian government way of talking. Ukrainian government or propaganda units do not talk like this. They do not review things in a realistic way. Oh, I just realized you may not be able to read this very, very well. Yeah, I should have used this screen. Okay, so yeah, for those that want to read, you can read. So now this is very important, because Avdiivka, Marinka is one of these major front line that has been fighting over since the Civil War time for the past 8 and 9 years. So Avdiivka is yet another Civil War era front line, where Avdiivka city has been the thorn in the eye of Donetsk. Donetsk Oblast, or the People's Republic of Donetsk, and now they are part of the Russian Federation, and Avdiivka is also where it was alleged that the Ukrainians are bombarding Donetsk city with. So the fighting at Avdiivka, is something that is very important to the Russian side, because the people of Donbass has been complaining and wondering why Russian military is taking so long to recapture Avdiivka. And if we are coming to almost 2 years in a few months, around 3 months time, we are looking at 2 years of Ukraine war, and Avdiivka still stands up to today. And so it is something that I believe the Russian military will be doing their best to capture before the war turns 2 years, because it will look really bad on them, not able to capture a major city just next to the Donbass capital. So, but this, like I said, this is not usual. This is not the way how Ukraine tends to talk. And I want to bring you back to March 7th, 2023. This is during the Battle of Bakhmut.
Я прямо поставив питання і командувачу Хортиці генералу Сирському, і главкому Залужному про те, якою вони бачать далі оборонну операцію на Бахмутському напрямку. Чи відійти, чи продовжувати оборону і посилюватися в місті. Обидва генерали відповіли не відходити і посилюватися. Ця позиція була одноголосно підтримана Ставкою. Інших позицій не було. Я сказав главкому знайти відповідні сили, щоб допомогти хлопцям у Бахмуті. І на Ставці я прямо поставив...
So as you can see, basically Zelensky claims that Syrsky and Zaluzhny, Syrsky is the commander of the land forces, and Zaluzhny is the commander of the entire Ukrainian military, recommended to him that they should fight Bakhmut all the way. This I mentioned in this tweet. that I believe that Zelensky is throwing the generals under the bus, because he insisted, rather than the, I feel is the rather than the actual advice from the generals, because from the statements prior to this release, this public release by Zelensky, the sense coming out from Zaluzhny is that is Bakhmut is lost. It's basically, you know, undefendable. And I believe that the generals actually wanted to withdraw, but Zelensky don't want. So I believe that he made this video and forced the general into this, or be scapegoat if it fails. So after Bakhmut fall, you know, Zelensky can actually blame it on these generals. And also, you know, if the generals don't follow the command, the Zelensky's statements to hold the city, they can also be seen as traitors. So, you know, the generals have no choice, and then they fight on. So, and indeed they fight on for a while longer, and this actually, you know, still ended up in a defeat, where I think after a month or so, Bakhmut has fallen. So this is something very important. So the next statement, let me go. The next one is about Zaluzhny talking about the mobilization. So it's interesting note. Let me see if I can show you. So there is all this statement coming out. Zelensky claims that the military command have submitted a request to mobilize 500,000 troops. And this was reported on December of 25th, and this actually went viral because there is some statement attached to it claiming about 20,000 troops are needed on a monthly basis to reinforce the front, which also people interpret it as the Ukrainian forces is actually losing 20,000 troops a month on average, and that actually makes mathematical sense. That's the important note. It actually makes mathematical sense that you may actually the Ukrainian forces can actually lose that much troops. If we do some simple math, we are now, I can't even know how many months is it in now. March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So 10 months. So 10 months plus 12 is 22 months times 20,000. So it's just random. 400 over 1,000 is a bit much. I would say that the claims from the Russian Defense Ministry is that the Ukrainians have lost over 300 over 1,000 troops, which I believe makes sense because the fighting in the earlier part of the war is less intense. It's not as heavy. The intensity actually ramped up after the Ukrainian forces mobilized after the first 2-3 months, and then the Ukrainians actually launched the offensive in September. That's when the casualties start to mount, because the Ukrainian forces was on the offensive. They are taking very high risk. They're doing high risk operations, and so I believe that the numbers is around 300,000, but at 20,000 a month is around 400,000, and this actually does feels very close to reality, very close to what the Russians are saying as well. And so the 500,000 does make sense, and 500,000 will allow them to fight another 2 years at least. So this statement went viral about the Zelensky saying that the military need it, but Zaluzhny actually denies requesting for 500,000 conscript, and we can actually see multiple translation or statements. Like I said, this is by Lord Babel. Like I said, this press conference is a informational nightmare for Ukraine. Zelensky said that the Stavka request for 500,000 troops, and says blaming this request on Zaluzhny. And Zelensky actually said that he does not know if the numbers are reasonable. Honestly speaking, if you want to win the war, yes, because you are fighting against Russia. You're not fighting against Belarus. You're not fighting against Georgia. You're not fighting against the Baltic states or even Poland. You're fighting against freaking Russia. So this number absolutely makes sense. So, but Zaluzhny actually said that they didn't ask. And so a lot of people basically laugh at them, saying that they blame each other. So in another one, you can see that this is Nexta. Nexta is another media. So Zelensky said that there's no request to mobilize a specific number of people, and so the military command has not made a single request for any figures there, Zelensky said. So this is a huge contradiction against the president. This is very important to note. The leader of the military is actually going against the president of Ukraine. So this is actually a sign of some kind of a tear between this relationship between the two. And TVP World, another media, this is from Poland. This is a Polish media. Basically, claims that he is not happy. So this, now we move on about the mobilization. It's still related. Zelensky basically said that he's not satisfied with the military drafting office work in mobilizing more troops. He says that the parliament have published a draft law containing the reform of the military draft program, which will allow the mobilization of troops of people up to down from 27 to 25 years old. And this of course sparked controversy because the Ukrainians are feeling uncomfortable with mobilization. They say that he's not currently satisfied with the work of the draft office. So then they talk about the clash between the numbers of the 500, and then Zelensky says that no, he have never revealed such a number publicly, and this is actually interesting. He will say he will not publicly discuss these figures, and this also shows that the Polish media actually do not share this same view that saying that they never ask. In fact, they say that he acknowledged this number, but they say that they will not have revealed this number publicly. So it's rather confusing regarding this conflict in terms of this information coming out. So the important, if we move back around a month ago, this is in November 2nd, Zelensky basically made a statement at the very end of this Ukrainian counteroffensive and the beginning of the Russian offensive. Basically a revival of the Russian offensive, which we are currently looking at right now. Zelensky said that the counteroffensive has not worked out, and there will be no deep and beautiful breakthroughs. So basically saying that the Western arms supplies has been sufficient to sustain Ukraine, but not enough for Ukraine to win. So and he's very realistic. Like I said, Zelensky is a breath of fresh air when you look at the entire Ukrainian information space. He's basically said that the West is not obliged to give them anything, and Zelensky is grateful for what they have gotten, but he's simply stating the fact that they do not have enough to actually create a deep and beautiful breakthrough. And he also acknowledged a mistake in thinking that Russia would halt its full-scale invasion after losing more than 150,000 troops on the battlefield. So this is important to note. This is actually a very common misunderstanding of Russia's perspective regarding their invasion of Ukraine. Everyone kept saying that it's an imperialistic thing, Russia would is very ambitious, they want to conquer Europe and whatnot, and actually that is entirely wrong. The entire invasion of Ukraine is a matter of national security for Russia, which means that they are going to spend any number of troops to make sure that they win this war, because this is national survival for Russia, and this is something that Ukraine don't understand. Because if they understand, they would not have pursued to become part of NATO. So this is important to qualify. Ukraine don't understand that they are actually not in the position to become part of EU or NATO, because that will make them become a threat to Russia. And Ukraine, in the earlier, before the uprising, the Maidan, before Euromaidan, the president then was more realistic. He realized that there's no way forward. It's very hard. There still needs more time to negotiate and try to sort out how do they become closer and more integrated into the European market while not antagonizing Russia. But Euromaidan is all about ignoring Russia's interests and then basically going all out to become part of the West. And you can see that even Zaluzhny acknowledging this mistake shows that even within the leadership of the Ukrainian side, they didn't understand Russia's intentions in launching all this invasion, the position that Russia actually sits on. I'm not justifying Russia's invasion, just to put it clear. War will happen. Just like Israel counter-attacking and then becoming so brutal in Gaza Strip, that is predictable. Russia invading Ukraine is actually quite predictable. It's just that it comes with a huge cost, and no one can fully grasp whether Putin would be willing to take this cost, because Putin has been actually a very conservative leader for Russia. He's very, very conservative. People want to demonize him into some kind of a demon, some kind of like a Tsar, want to conquer the rest of the world or Europe. The history and the decision making, the narrative that he put out, you actually cannot just justify that. So but I just thought this is very interesting. And so he said that Russia, with massive human and economic resources, and treating soldiers like cheap resources, sending them to die in frontal assaults, still did not basically stops Russia from winning. Although I would disagree this could be the case, because both sides are doing frontal assaults when they went on their offensive. The same thing Ukraine did. Ukraine went to attack in the Orikhiv sector in a frontal assault into the heavily defended line. So it's the same. Both sides are the same. So this is actually important to note about this. And this actually triggered Zelensky, because in that statement, Zaluzhny basically said that the war has basically descended into just attrition war. They cannot make any more breakthroughs, and they can only be on the defensive. And Zelensky is pissed off, about that statement. He said that so the presidential office said that Zaluzhny's declaration that the war is at a stalemate is helpful to the Russians. And I actually using this comment because New York Times, I didn't have a subscription, so someone actually copy and paste the whole thing here. So the president basically is don't like what Zaluzhny has said about declaring the war is a stalemate, and this is again showing the emergent brief. So it's not just me saying this, that there's this seeming divide between Zaluzhny and Zelensky. But New York Times, which is actually pro-Ukrainian for sure, because they are pro-West, they are Western, not propaganda, but mainstream media, basically also observe the same thing. And so the office deputy head of the president say that Zaluzhny's assertion that the fight against Russia is the work of the aggressor, which makes zero sense, because the war is fought on the battlefield, not in terms of statements. It doesn't change anything. You still die from a single bullet. So the Zelensky basically disputed and said this is not a stalemate. He emphasized this again and clearly is wrong. Actually, he's correct. It's not a stalemate. Russia is actually making progress since this statement. In the 2 months of this statement, Russia actually successfully counterattacked and basically eliminated maybe at least 20% of the Ukrainians' gain during the Ukrainian counteroffensive. So this is the situation right now. But Zaluzhny is a very, very popular guy within Ukraine, and no matter what Zelensky think about Zaluzhny, where Zelensky finds Zaluzhny as a problem in terms of their information war, the PR war that the Ukrainian government is trying to conduct, they cannot sack him, because Zaluzhny seems to be the only guy that knows what to do. And along with Syrskyi, Ukraine is not like Russia. You know, Russia have a lot of generals. Putin have also used the Ukraine war to clear out a lot of these generals that is either went rogue or incompetent. And so many of these generals has been sacked or demoted or redeployed to some useless unit. Ukraine actually do not have this benefit. They do not have the scale of the military to actually conduct this kind of shuffling or sacking. And a new poll came out. This is on the 18th of December. This is by Kiev. This is reported by Kiev Independent. So it's actually important to note. Is Kiev independent? I hope they are independent, but so far they are also very full of hopium as far as when I read their stuff. But the fact that they actually published this poll shows that even the Kiev Independent, this Ukrainian media, actually don't like Zelensky anymore, because if not, they will be spending more time defending Zelensky. So unless they are really independent, which I don't think so. Anyway, they literally start off the article with public trust among Ukrainians in the president has declined over the past year, but an overwhelming majority of the Ukrainians trust the military and its commander-in-chief, Zaluzhny, in a poll by Kiev Independence Institute of Sociology. So it's like they literally start off the article with that sentence. Basically, it's not just the rift between Zelensky and Zaluzhny is brewing behind the scenes, but literally you have the Ukrainian media trying to blow it up. They're trying to make this rift public, and they're trying to undermine their president, as far as I can tell, in the middle of the war. And I wonder what Zelensky can do about Kiev Independent, because Kiev Independent is one of the major Ukrainian media that is out there that a lot of these pro-Ukrainian people trust. So the trust in Zelensky should decline to 62% from 84% in a year ago, and the number of distrust increased by 5% to 18%. So the trust in the civilian government has declined to 26%, drop from 52%. So basically, the citizens, if the poll is to be trusted, the citizens have lost trust, lost faith in their government. They also lost a lot of faith in Zelensky. Majority still trust in Zelensky. Like I said before, even on the Duran, when I was interviewed by the Duran, and when I was on their show, I said that Zelensky is doing a tremendously good job, given the limitations that he is in. If Zelensky cannot surrender, and he have to rally the country to fight on, Zelensky is doing a massive good job. But even this massive good job is running out of steam, because it's just not possible to force foreign countries to continue to fund your war. It's just very difficult, especially those foreign countries are not in wartime footsteps. They're not in the wartime footing to support a active war zone. So trust in court has also reduced and also dropped. And so basically, this is the Kiev Independent reporting on this, and it actually can be corroborated. So this Twitter account, Aaron Goldman, Argo Journal, basically try to defend Zelensky, but he's talking rubbish, because in the poll, so let me change the screen again. In the poll, basically, it said president. So how much do you trust in the authority of the president? There's only one president, right? You can't be like, I like the president, but I don't like the office, so I'm voting no. It makes zero sense. It's not just going to work that way. And this actually corroborates the numbers being reported by Kiev Independence. 62% dropping from 84%, as you can see. And the government also, this is the parliament. The parliament also have dropped from 35% trust to dropping to 15%, and the distrust actually increased to 61%. So the population now distrusts their own parliament, and it can't be helped, because there is no elections. They can't even vote out these people that they don't like, because they are currently in martial law. They are currently in the middle of the war. They can't even vote out this Verkhovna Rada, basically their parliament. And the distrust over their government also goes from 19% to 44%. The trust level is dropping. So they actually still trust their government more than their parliament, but it's still falling. And I believe in 2024 this is going to get worse. So in Zaluzhny, 88% trust. So this is a tremendous number of high. They also never have done this before. Previously, they always put it as the military, and you can see that the military's trust remains very, very high. So I would say this kind of vote tends to be more like hope. It's like hope. It's like you go to the church, the mosque, the temple to pray. You just hope that they are, and the only thing you can do is to put your trust in the military, and this is fully understandable. In the SBU, which is their intelligence branch, the internal security branch, is dropping a little bit, but not that much. They still believe in their SBU, and national police is not important. The one below is national police. So it's interesting, this poll shows that there is this divide is breaking between Zelensky and Zaluzhny is hugely popular. So the Kiev Independent doubled down, saying that Zelensky say his relationship with Zaluzhny is a working relationship. So which means that there is this distance that Zelensky is putting between him and Zaluzhny. And so this is come after a question, questioning their alleged dispute. A working relationship basically just confirms the real problem, that this rift actually exists, because you don't really say working relationship if under this kind of media pressure. And he said that, and he actually doubled down and said that the Zaluzhny and the general staff are responsible for the situation on the battlefield. And Zelensky said that he's waiting for concrete things on the battlefield. There is a strategy, good. He want to see the details, and he thinks that it is fair. So this is actually very scary. Because firstly, the Kiev Independent is basically driving that stake into this rift to tell the world this is currently happening, and Zelensky is also not stepping back, basically telling the world through whatever interview that was being done, to put the responsibility on Zaluzhny. And I mentioned before, I believe Zaluzhny actually wanted to withdraw from Bakhmut, but he got thrown under the bus by Zelensky, and they have to fight on in Bakhmut, losing precious number of troops that could have been useful in a more mobile warfare, a more maneuver warfare. But because they decided to fight this more attritional World War I style, trench warfare kind of war, they are losing these troops, and they are trying to hold Bakhmut, which was essentially strategically lost. They lost so much troops against the Wagner, which you can see Russia just throw aside like nobody's business. Now Wagner is like a nothing in Russia, despite all this popularity. So all these things is tremendously interesting, to see how it's developing. And like I said, Zaluzhny in his press conference basically saying that Avdiivka is going to be lost within a few months. Marinka has been lost, and they have to fight a defensive war, totally against what Zelensky is trying to push. And this is going to continue to break up their working relationship, deteriorating it. And so this is another question by Francis Farrell.
Вашу думку, як воєнна кампанія в Україні буде відрізнятися в 24-му році від 23-го? Які головні уроки ви брали від минулого року, над якими треба буде працювати в наступному? Дякую.
Дякую за запитання. У 21 столітті розвиток науки і як наслідок розвиток озброєння і військової техніки, він безапеляційно і обов'язково веде до змін в тактики застосування. 24-й рік, він не просто буде відрізнятися, а він має відрізнитися, 24-й рік від 23-го року, бо інакше нас чекає те, про те, що я писав у статті. Відповідно, ми ці проблеми знайшли. І знайшли десь, мабуть, 90% вже рішень цих питань, які необхідно обов'язково вирішити для того, щоб в наступному році діяти більш ефективно і, саме головне, зберегти людей. Над цим працюємо. З нами абсолютно погодилися наші партнери, які також зацікавилися цим питанням. І можу вас запевнити про те, що наступний рік він буде відрізнятися, саме воєнний рік від 23-го року. Ми, принаймні, для цього усе робимо. На жаль, мушу констатувати, що і противник від нас не відстає. У нас іде досить таке потужне протистояння на рівні застосування технологій, перш за все. Але ми не збавляємо в цьому напор. Дуже, кстати, до речі, хотів би подякувати міністру оборони про те, що команда, вона дійсно підтримує всі технологічні наші прориви, які ми запропонували. І я гадаю, що у нас все вийде. Я в цьому впевнений.
So it's very interesting, the statements coming out from Zelensky. Basically, he says that 2024 is going to be a very different war because due to the development of the technologies, and particularly I would say that it's drone technologies that is being deployed. But of course, I feel that there is a bit of hope saying that the Russians are actually not far behind Ukraine, which I think is a misstatement. I believe that clearly Ukraine is not that far ahead. Or in fact, I don't even think they're ahead at all against the Russians in terms of technology. So, so this is definitely something just for internal consumption, and they did say the defense minister is actually doing whatever he could to continue to make technological developments for their military effort, and this is clearly was being done, and clearly we can also see the impact of the Ukrainian ingenuity making an impact. For example, the surface drones that is threatening the Black Sea Fleet and whatnot. And of course, the defense minister, along with Zelensky, is trying very hard to bring in more weapons that will allow Ukraine to fight as much as they can. So, but to say the Russians are behind them in technology makes no sense. But the war definitely in 2024 seems to be going to be different. So. And important to note is that Zelensky did mention that they have identified around 90% of the problems, and they have been raised to I believe the defense minister to try to resolve these issues moving forward. But of course, this is talking about Russia will not develop at all. Russia basically is also constantly looking at the battlefield situation, and they are also evolving, building in new technologies, bringing in new tactics to fight. So whatever this 90% that Ukraine has uncovered, by the time they come up with a solution for it, there will be new problems facing them on the battlefield. This is just important to note. And Georgy Revishny basically summarized the press conference. So in case we kind of lost our way, basically he said that mobilization is not his job. Mobilization is the government's job, but he needs the people and the weapons to continue the war. So basically this one throws the gauntlet at Zelensky, for Zelensky to do his job. And so other statements including everyone must defend Ukraine, and he said that the development of this mobilization law is precisely for the sake of justice. But he's not satisfied with the work of the enlistment office, and otherwise there wouldn't be a need for a bill for mobilization, which actually makes a lot of sense. So Marinka has been lost. Ukrainian troops have retreated and dug out outside the city, and into the 3 months Russia might capture Avdiivka. So he said that now his office basically is more interested in preserving people's life and not territory. So I wonder if this is a switch in terms of the strategy Ukraine will have moving forward, more willing to relinquish grounds to save people, because we have seen Russia giving up huge swaths of land because they know they can't hold those land, like Balaklia offensive, basically in the Kharkiv region where Russia give up all the land, or in the Kherson region where the Russians give up the entire northern part of the Dnipro River in Kherson Oblast, because they feel that it is impossible to continue to hold that front line on the northern side of the river, because resupply is difficult, the ground is hard to defend, and of course also for the northern front, right in the early part of the war, where the Russians used the goodwill as an excuse to redraw from the entire northern front up to Kiev, the Sumy region, Chernihiv region, because the Russia don't have enough troops to actually defend that much land. That's the reality. It's not a goodwill. They just cannot defend given the number of troops that Russia have in the early part of the war. So Russia has always been giving up territory to preserve manpower, and this is something that Ukraine have not really done much. The only withdrawal the Ukrainians have done was actually from the Luhansk region. After the fall of Severodonetsk and Lysychansk, the Ukrainians actually withdrew from the entire of Luhansk region into Bilohorivka and the Sivers front, and basically they held that front all the way until now. So that is the case, and believe that maybe we will see a lot more mobile warfare from the Ukrainian side if this is true, if they really want to preserve manpower, because if you sit at that position, you're going to get hammered by airstrikes and artillery, and that is just a waste of manpower, because if you withdraw, the Russians have to chase you. If the Russians chase you, then you have a window of opportunity to actually hit those chasers, and this will result in a more mobile warfare. But if you just stay in position, then it's just a attritional warfare. So on the Ukrainian counteroffensive, he said that the main mistake is that he thought the number of losses they caused Russia will stop anyone, but it did not stop the Russian Federation, which is of course the same view the Russians have. The Russians believe that the number of losses they cause on the Ukrainian side will cause Ukraine to capitulate, but the Ukrainians did not. So it's the same thing. Both are in a war of survival, and of course Ukraine suffering a lot more than the Russians in terms of survivorship, because Russia, basically the economy, everything is intact. Ukraine is totally devastated with huge migration of people out of Ukraine. So Ukraine is, and of course accumulating all the debt, which Russia don't really have. So it's gonna be much worse for the Ukrainians. On Western support, Zelensky is sure that the Western support will continue, and there will be no problem with weapons in the Ukrainian army. In terms of this, I say 70%, 60 to 70% is true, because the West will probably continue to support in terms of small arms, but in terms of bigger weapons, like tanks and whatnot, it's going to be much more challenging unless they can make money out of it. We have already seen that a few of these countries are signing agreements with Ukraine to develop military factories either in Ukraine or just off Ukraine to continue to build new weaponries like tanks and armored vehicles for Ukraine's war effort. Whether that could be done in realistic terms, I do not know. So we shall continue to watch and see. 2024 will be interesting. And he also claims that the Ukrainians can train 50,000 fighters in 10 brigades in their own and foreign training centers at once. So let's say if 50,000 and they're going to train them for 1 month, which is something that they did for this offensive brigade that they have created for this Ukrainian offensive, it will still take them 10 months, almost a year, to train 500,000 troops. So the mobilization for 500,000 people right now will still take 1 year. So which means that we may not even see a Ukrainian offensive next year if they do not have manpower right now. So the main offensive might actually come in 2025, the next Ukrainian offensive. But this is not exactly up to Zelensky, because Zelensky may force it. So let's see how this goes. So anyway, this is Zelensky. This is the summary. Not summary, but this is the report I have regarding Zelensky and Zelensky, and this press conference have the amount of information and impact it's going to have on Ukraine, and it's also give us a window, a rare opportunity to look into the real situation of Ukraine. So thank you for watching. Do press the like button, subscribe. Let me know your feelings in the comments and what you think, and of course do let me know what you think about this kind of video, whether to continue, do more, or what not. It's very different from SitRep, which is why there is 2 different channels, main channel and the war channel. Because if I only do SitRep, I can never do this kind of video. So that's the reason why I have two channels for different reasons. The war reporting have to be separate from the analysis and geopolitical or news headline channel, which is the main channel. Subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next update.